LETTER 8 of the Backwoods of Canada, by Catharine Parr Traill. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Backwoods of Canada, by Catharine Parr Traill. Letter 8. Inconveniences of First Settlement. November the 20th, 1832. Our log house is not yet finished, though it is in a state of forwardness. We are still indebted to the hospitable kindness of S and his wife for a home. This being their first settlement on their land, they have as yet many difficulties, in common with all residences in the backwoods, to put up with this year. They have a fine block of land, well situated, and S laughs at the present privations, to which he opposes a spirit of cheerfulness and energy that is admirably calculated to effect their conquest. They are now about to remove to a larger and more commodious house that has been put up this fall, leaving us the use of the old one till our own is ready. We begin to get reconciled to our Robinson Crusoe sort of life, and the consideration that the present evils are but temporary goes a great way towards reconciling us to them. One of our greatest inconveniences arises from the badness of our roads, and the distance at which we are placed from any village or town where provisions are to be procured. Till we raise our own grain, and fatten our own hogs, sheep, and poultry, we must be dependent upon the stores for food of every kind. These supplies have to be brought up at considerable expense and loss of time, through our beautiful bush roads, which, to use the words of a poor Irish woman, "can't be no worser, och, darlint," she said, "but they are just bad enough, and can't be no worser, och, they aren't like our illigant roads in Ireland." You may send down a list of groceries to be forwarded when a team comes up, and when we examine our stores, behold rice, sugar, currants, pepper, and mustard all jumbled into one mess. What think you of a rice pudding, seasoned plentiful with pepper, mustard, and maybe a little rappee, or prince's mixture added by way of sauce? I think the recipe would cut quite a figure in the Cook's Oracle, or Mrs. Dalgairn's Practice of Cookery, under the original title of a bush pudding. And then woe and destruction to the brittle ware that may chance to travel through our road. Lucky indeed are we, if, through the superior carefulness of the person who packs them, more than one half happens to arrive in safety. For such mishaps we have no redress. The storekeeper lays the accident upon the teamster, and the teamster upon the bad roads, wondering that he himself escaped with whole bones after a journey through the bush. This is now the worst season of the year, this, and just after the breaking up of snow. Nothing hardly but an ox cart can travel along the roads, and even that with difficulty, occupying 2 days to perform the journey. And the worst of the matter is, that there are times when the most necessary articles of provisions are not to be procured at any price. You see, then, that a settler in the bush requires to hold himself pretty independent, not only of the luxuries and delicacies of the table, but not unfrequently even of the very necessaries. One time no pork is to be procured; another time there is a scarcity of flour, owing to some accident that has happened to the mill, or for the want of proper supplies of wheat for grinding, or perhaps the weather and bad roads at the same time prevent a team coming up, or people from going down. Then you must have recourse to a neighbour, if you have the good fortune to be near one, or fare the best you can on potatoes. The potato is indeed a great blessing here. New settlers would otherwise be often greatly distressed, and the poor man and his family, who are without resources, without the potato must starve. Once our stock of tea was exhausted, and we were unable to procure more. In this dilemma milk would have been an excellent substitute, or coffee if we had possessed it, but we had neither the one nor the other, so we agreed to try the Yankee tea, hemlock sprigs boiled. This proved to my taste a vile decoction, though I recognized some herb in the tea that was sold in London at 5 shillings a pound, which I am certain was nothing better than dried hemlock leaves reduced to a coarse powder. S laughed at our wry faces, declaring the potation was excellent, and he set us all an example by drinking 6 cups of this truly sylvan beverage. His eloquence failed in gaining a single convert. We could not believe it was only second to young hyson. To his assurance that to its other good qualities it united medicinal virtues, we replied that, like all other physic, it was very unpalatable. "After all," said S , with a thoughtful air, "the blessings and the evils of this life owe their chief effect to the force of contrast, and are to be estimated by that principally. We should not appreciate the comforts we enjoy half so much did we not occasionally feel the want of them. How we shall value the conveniences of a cleared farm after a few years, when we can realize all the necessaries and many of the luxuries of life!" "And how shall we enjoy green tea after this odious decoction of hemlock?" said I. "Very true; and a comfortable frame house, and nice garden, and pleasant pastures, after these dark forests, log houses, and no garden at all." "And the absence of horrid black stumps," rejoined I. "Yes, and the absence of horrid stumps. Depend on it, my dear, your Canadian farm will seem to you a perfect paradise by the time it is all under cultivation, and you will look upon it with the more pleasure and pride from the consciousness that it was once a forest wild, which by the effects of industry and well applied means has changed to fruitful fields. Every fresh comfort you realize around you will add to your happiness; every improvement within doors or without will raise a sensation of gratitude and delight in your mind, to which those that revel in the habitual enjoyment of luxury, and even of the commonest advantages of civilization, must in a great degree be strangers. My passwords are hope, resolution, and perseverance." "This," said my husband, "is true philosophy, and the more forcible because you not only recommend the maxim, but practise it also." I had reckoned much on the Indian summer, of which I had read much delightful descriptions, but I must say it has fallen far below my expectations. Just at the commencement of this month, November, we experienced 3 or 4 warm hazy days that proved rather close and oppressive. The sun looked red through the misty atmosphere, tinging the fantastic clouds that hung in smoky volumes with saffron and pale crimson light, much as I have seen the clouds above London look on a warm sultry spring morning. Not a breeze ruffled the waters; not a leaf, for the leaves had not entirely fallen, moved. This perfect stagnation of air was suddenly changed by a hurricane of wind and snow that came on without any previous warning. I was standing near a group of tall pines that had been left in the middle of the clearing, collecting some beautiful crimson lichens, S not being so many paces distant, with his oxen drawing firewood. Suddenly we heard a distant hollow rushing sound that momentarily increased, the air around us being yet perfectly calm. I looked up and beheld the clouds, hitherto so motionless, moving with amazing rapidity in several different directions. A dense gloom overspread the heavens. S , who had been busily engaged with the cattle, had not noticed my being so near, and now called to me to use all speed I could to gain the house, or an open part of the clearing distant from the pine trees. Instinctively I turned towards the house, while the thundering shock of trees falling in all directions at the edge of the forest, the rending of branches from the pines I had just quitted, and the rush of the whirlwind sweeping down the lake, made me sensible of the danger with which I had been threatened. The scattered boughs of the pines darkened the air as they whirled above me. Then came the blinding snow storm, but I could behold the progress of the tempest in safety, having gained the threshold of our house. The driver of the oxen had thrown himself on the ground, while the poor beasts held down their meek heads, patiently abiding the pelting of the pitiless storm,